We're talking Ball State. Don Shondell and Ray McCallum talking Ball State. Nate Davis and Bonzi Wells. Schumann, Bell Tower, and Worthen. Fans all over from Muncie to Berlin. Getting Concannons, Carters, and Greeks. All right, everyone out there in Cardinal land, welcome to another live edition of Ball State of the Union, your number one Ball State football podcast. By the fans, for the fans. We're talking current headlines, exclusive interviews with Cardinal athletes and coaches, and fun off-the-wall debates that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to us on all of your favorite social media platforms. And as always, when you hear that beautiful song, you hear that beautiful voice, it's coming after a big Maction win. You know, when you hear that, we're going to be doing one thing, boys, and that's going to be talking Ball State. I am John, your host, as always, joined today. Little Friday afternoon. We got a little bit of weird schedule here this week. If Maction gets a little weird, we're going to get a little weird with our schedule. So joined today by Colin from Ball State Football Talk and the one, the only Mr. Need. Boys, a big win out there for everyone in the Ball State Cardinal sphere, whether it be coaches, players, fans, but no one out there got a bigger win than the man at the bottom of the screen right there, Mr. Colin from Ball State Football Talk. Colin, you shot your shot. You talked your crap. You've been doing it for a long time. The boys backed you up. I'll give you the floor. How was it on Wednesday?
Really, I'd like to brag and say the whole game I was, relaxed, not worried. But in reality, that second half, I was in that front row, like leaning on the metal gate there, and just my stomach was hurting. So there was a little worry, and I want to credit Kent State because I talked really bad about them for a while, because these last 2 years were just dreadful. I think they're on the right track, although their coach made a lot of mistakes this game. But I want to give credit to Kent State. They made me respect them. But at the same time, boys, Ball State's going to win that game 9 out of 10 times. We should win that game 9 out of 10 times. There is a hierarchy in the MAC right now. And in that bottom tier, it's got like UMass at the very bottom. Akron and Kent will fight it out for right below that. You got Eastern Michigan in there. We're in that tier right above there. So we just protected our place in the hierarchy of the MAC. That's how I truly feel. It was an important win, and I'm excited to get another one, Eastern Michigan. I'm feeling good. There will be no doll date, and feeling great. No better feeling.
Yeah, the blow up date is officially canceled with the W for the Ball State Cardinals on Wednesday. So, Willie, before I kick it to you, get your kind of initial thoughts on the game. I want to go over a couple things with everyone. As is always, again, we are live right now. I know this is a weird time. We usually Wednesdays and Sundays at 8:30, Friday at 2. It's just the best time we could get in. I was traveling back from the game yesterday. So if you're listening to us with us live right now, you want to get in on the conversation, tell us where you're watching the show from. Tell us if your boss is going to get mad at you for watching the show right now. Put it in the comments where you're watching, and we'll read them all at the end of the show. And as always, Ball State of the Union is partnering with the Shop Indie. That is www.theshopindie.com. Use that code BSUnion at checkout, and you'll get free shipping on your order. It could be anything you want. It could be, you could order a bunch of Ball State, you could order Colts, Pacers, Indiana Fever, whatever they got. BS Union will get you that free shipping. And also, Ball State of the Union is a proud member of the College Huddle. The College Huddle is a network of independently made college football podcasts. So if you're interested in all things college football, be sure to check out their website. You'll see Ball State of the Union there. You'll see all kinds of other people listed for all kinds of different shows, and be sure to check them out. So I think that covers all the housekeeping there. Now, Willie, you were watching on TV. Colin and I were in the house. I was freezing my butt off since I've been in South Florida for 6 years now. What were your initial thoughts on what you saw Wednesday night with the Ball State win over Kent State?
Honestly, everybody's with us. Happy Good Friday. Watching the game, it was up and down, man. Ball State had their moments, especially in the first quarter, where we looked like we were gonna possibly pull away. And like Colin said, you got to give a lot of credit to Kent State. They made a lot of plays. They put Ball State in some tough positions, and credit the defense also, man. They stood tall in a lot of possessions when the offense couldn't get anything going. good game by Kyle Kelly, getting 2 touchdowns and controlling the game, not putting the ball in bad positions. Even though he's hurting most of the game, he thugged it out. He stood tall in the pocket, and when the moment came, he hit Anthony up the sideline for a great play call on the wide hide. So really just happy that this team showed grit there at home, protecting the nest. You know what I'm saying? That they take pride in that, and they haven't done that since I was there in 2013. So that was good to see. Um, really just looking forward to seeing if they can make it 2 in a row. You know what I mean? It's going to be a good challenge against Eastern Michigan coming up. But I thought they did what they had to do to get the dub, regardless of everything that was going on during the game. They stayed in control. They didn't. The defense kept them in some great positions, and Kent State made a lot of bonehead calls. I thought if
Hmm.
they didn't go with some of the fourth down calls that they did, and they put Ball State in long field position where they had to drive, I think that would have been the backbreaker because they didn't show any consistency all game with the offense. Just you know show a couple flashes and then it kind of like sizzle out. So that's something we got to continue to work on, John, Colin. I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, this was by no means one of the better games Ball State has played this year. They did not look very sharp in a lot of aspects of this game, but credit to them, they kept it tight, they kept it close, they kept it within arm's distance. And when they really had to make that big play at the end of the game, they
Hmm.
dialed it up perfectly. They called that timeout, 4th and 2, game on the line.
Yep.
Coach you and them, they drew up the perfect thing. They executed it well, and they're dancing in the end zone. So Willie alluded to it as well. Kent State really, really let Ball State hang around this game. They had some pretty poor penalties. I think we got 3 or 4 first downs on penalties that they had. Obviously, the very interesting decision when you're moving the ball fairly well in the second half to run a trick play and give Ball State life, get an interception right there. And then, I thought the most egregious thing in the entire game was them when our offense had stalled out pretty much the entire second half, Kent State deciding to punt it on their own side of the 50-yard line and run a fake or not fake, go for it, excuse me, and get stuffed and, punt that deep. We couldn't move the ball to save our life for most of that game. And so they
Right.
really gave us life. But again, credit to Ball State. We capitalized when we really had to. So
Yep.
I'll take
John,
that.
are you
Go
are
ahead.
you referring to like 3, 4, like with just 5 or so minutes left in the fourth, or when?
I
Because
think
I think
so.
they went for it on fourth down a couple times. Which one are you?
They did. So the
Which one are we
last
talking about? At
one,
the end of the game there?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they're going
yeah,
for it there. Ball
yeah.
State's offense has really struggled in the second half at that point. If they punt it and just put us, even if it's a touchback, puts it at the 20-yard line, 80 yards for Ball State's offense on Wednesday
Mhm.
seemed like 120. So they really could have pinned them deep. They really let them off there. But again, we executed, when they
Yeah.
had to, and they scored a touchdown. So yeah, there was a
And they
handful of
they
things.
called they
Yeah,
called Wildcat for
yeah.
that fourth down play. Like it, I just I don't know what they were thinking on that. That
And
was
it was a
horrendous.
bad snap too. Like the
Yeah.
snap went to the
Yeah,
right, and he just took his eyes off it. You saw him like he was looking at the line. He didn't even look the ball in, and you know, like we keep saying, credit Ball State defense, man. They did that all game, and
Hmm.
they kept trying, and they went for it on fourth down 5 times. They stood tall 1 out of 5 times. You know what I'm saying? So that's a credit to Ball State defense. They came to play, action football, right? Televised game, just stood up in the moment, and that's what you love to see Ball State Cardinals do.
Hmm. Yeah, and again, hindsight's 2020. If Kent State converts on either of those plays, I'm sure we're having a much different conversation right now. But they didn't, and it looks pretty bad that they weren't able to do that. So
Yep.
let me go over just kind of some quick stats here, and then we'll kind of jump into all 3 phases of the game here. So again, if for some reason you missed it, Ball State wins their one Maction game of the year, 17-13 against Kent State. This was Kent State's new head coach's first game where they took the interim tag off. So it was kind of his first time, being the actual head coach. And it maybe seemed like it got to him a little bit later in the game potentially, but no big, huge stats offensively for Ball State. This is what I was alluding to earlier, was not their best game by any means. Kyle Kelly, 17-29, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, though. That's great. We only rushed the ball for 65 yards. So, again, we're, well under 300 yards in total offense there. I believe no turnovers for us, correct? I don't believe
No
we had any
turnovers.
turnovers.
No.
We had an interception late, and then obviously Nate Voris gets a sack in the game, so he inches even closer to that all-time record for
Another
single
one.
season sacks for Ball State. So
Hmm.
we can kind of go a number of different ways here. We usually go offense first, so if that works for you guys, we'll jump into the offense or lack thereof for most of the game. Willie, I'll start with you as always on offensively. What did you see? What did you like? What did you not like? What were your thoughts on Ball State's offense on Wednesday night?
I thought the offense started off fast, which was different, just with the fast start in the first quarter. So that was
Mm-hmm.
good to see. But just throughout the game, it looked like it was hard to tell if we were running or passing. If we were running, we weren't getting any push off the line. If we were passing, it's like Kelly wasn't getting a clean look, to kind of deliver the throws sometimes. But um, we were very stagnant throughout the game. But when the plays were needed to be made in the moments of the game when it mattered the most, our offense came and executed. And that I'm talking about the fourth down play at the end of the game. They called the perfect play. They got everybody flowing to the right, and then they throw it backside, and he takes it to the house. So, I thought it was a really up and down game for Ball State. I liked that they came out fast. That was good to see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the offense it was just kind of rough all game. We didn't really run the ball. Kyle Kelly led with 53 yards. I think I think he got hurt at one point in the game.
Yep.
He only had 12 yards, and TJ Horton really didn't get going. I wanted to see them run more zone because I feel like most of the big plays that they have run this year, where they got an explosive off of it, was the outside zone. And I don't think we we went at it enough. I think we ran it a few times. We didn't get much push. Um, but we got to continue to work on this passing game, man. If we want to be able to beat the teams at the end of the season, and be able to compete with them, we gotta be better throwing the football because you saw Kyle, he was hurting out there. He gutted it out. He gutted this one out, but he's not going to be able to sustain that. And, to complement that, to keep from, him taking all the load, is he's either got to throw more screens or we got to be able to run the ball better to be able to help him out. So when he does run, it's one of those explosive. He had one for like 30 yards in the first quarter, I think. It was a nice
Mm-hmm.
run up the middle. So, I don't like seeing Kyle take all those hits, man. He had like 21 rushes, and I think 10 of them were scrambles and the other were design runs. That's a lot of wear and tear on the quarterback. Um, but yeah, it was just an up and down game offensively, but in the end, they executed when they needed to, and that's when it mattered the most.
Yeah, and I kept harping on last 3 or 4 weeks, maybe even saying I was going to keep one of my chirps that we need to score first,
Hmm.
and they finally have done that. Now they had a
Yep.
10-0 lead. Obviously, they kind of let that lead evaporate over time. But again, as Willie just said, in the end, they made the plays when it mattered the most. They got the interception late in the game, and then offensively, they scored that big touchdown coming out of that fourth down. So, Colin, you were first row, you were front row center there on the 50-yard line. You were watching, listening to what
Oh
everyone
yeah.
had to say. Give me your takeaway from the offensive performance this week.
I would mostly agree with what Willie said. I think the word for the offense is probably timely. Um, and of course they could have stepped up and been a little bit more timely and made plays maybe a little bit sooner, but when they had to do it, they did it. And I thought it was a I said this on Twitter. I thought this was like a patient and gutsy called game by Coach U. And of course, if we lose this game, then people say, okay, he's not aggressive. Like patience can easily become, possibly lack of aggression for that if we lose. But I thought, you know, it was never pretty. It was never pretty. But Kyle could like get us 4 or 5 here and there. Um, Not a lot was going, but it's just the fact that we still won. It makes you kind of take that bitter taste out of your mouth, and it's like, okay, we did what we had to do. Like, so credit the defense too, because at the end of the game, they gave us an opportunity on the other side of the 50, and we didn't get it. And then they did it right again when they called that 4th and 1 on their own 41 with 3:48 left in the fourth quarter. Kent definitely should have punted, but the defense held, gave the ball right back over to the offense. And it was at that moment I was in my head, guys. I was like, okay, now this is on QB1. Like he's got to make something happen. You got the ball 2 times with like less than, I don't know, 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You got to make a play. And credit to him, 4th and 2, you know what the call is. There's a TV timeout. So they're sitting in that huddle. They're probably nervous. Like telling Cam Anthony, like, be ready, and Kyle Kelly knows he's got to make that pass. He's got to sell it to one side and then turn back. So, credit them for being cool under pressure and making the play when they had to. The word for the offense this week is timely.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
Willie, I want to kind of go over this play a little bit, and I have the play ready to go if we want to pop it up. I can. So going into that scenario, is that play as a football player who's in the building? Is that play called last week when they're prepping for this game? When do they know they're going to run this exact play? Is it something they see throughout the game and they say, okay, when we get to a point at later in the game, if we really need a break glass in case of emergency, think this is what we're going to run? How do they kind of come up with that? Because it worked so perfectly.
Yeah, I think that goes into the preparation of the week. I think they had this play call. I think they ran this play a couple weeks ago, like maybe early in the year. One of the home games, they ran something like this. So they're notorious for pulling this out of their, back pocket because this is a great play. And you got to respect, on 4th and 2, you think defensively, watch the edges, right? They want to run outside, especially with Kyle's legs. So think going into it, it's like, if we can get them flowing one way and get them to lose the tight end going out the backside. That play gashes even at the next level. So it was a great play call. And I think that thought process went into early in the week, just game planning, and probably saw it on tape that if they do some type of flow where they getting outside and getting everybody moving, with Kyle outside of the pocket, they can get something open on the backside if they're quick enough and it flashes at the right time. So I think this is a process. This is a thing they saw in film, John, and they probably were like, situationally, if we get in a moment where we have to use this play in the red zone, because that's the only time you want to run is like red zone or like somewhere close going in.
Hmm.
You just pull this out of your back pocket because if you get it, it could be a huge play like it was. So
Hmm.
that's a timely play. You know, 3rd and short, 4th and short towards the end of the game, right? You just, you know, you pull that play out when you need to and you have to. Like you said, they broke the glass. It was time to run it. This was the only 4th down they went for on the game, and they got it. And perfect play call at the right time. And you saw, man, it was wide open.
Calling, Cam Anthony was rolling out to the sideline. He catches it, turns upfield. When he turns upfield and you see no one in front of him, and you know that this game is pretty much wrapped up, and you know this bet is not happening now. What's going through your head when this goes down?
Euphoria, really? I mean, I was just super pumped. I knew we weren't gonna lose this game, but seeing it happen live is just such a great feeling. And, shout out to Wednesday Maction. We're on national TV. Barstool Big Cat is tweeting about Ball State, and Pat McAfee's wearing a Maction is back shirt. So like we were on national TV. We represented correctly. We, put on for Ball State, and I just I couldn't have been more proud, and like even watching that game back the next morning, like, man, seeing us win like that, like, just makes me proud to be a Cardinal. So I just being proud, John. Honestly, that's what I would say when I saw a touchdown like that. It's like I was so happy too because like I wanted Kyle Kelly to throw us for a touchdown too. Like I love to see that because last time I saw that was maybe the Ohio game, and
Mhm.
I'm glad to see him get a little bit more confidence, hopefully from that. And we're utilizing Cam Anthony, who hasn't really been utilized, so maybe we get him going. Just get the team moving in the right direction for Eastern Michigan. So just only good vibes on that, John. As soon as that happened, like, just felt great.
With that game being on the line and them calling a timeout, that had to be the longest timeout of your life.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
knew we
hey,
had it though. We were
one
pulling
other
something
thing
out.
as we'll move on to the defense now. And Colin, before it kind of became a stat over the last couple of days that people were throwing around online. You came running up the steps after the JoJo Lewis interception, saying that's 3 games in a row, 3 games in a row. What did you see on that play, particular, maybe, and the rest of the defense as a whole? Because, like we said, this definitely wasn't Ball State's best game offensively, but defensively, they kept them right in it and gave them a chance to win it at the end.
Yeah, I think with each week he's gaining confidence and becoming more opportunistic. So
Hmm.
this was something like a trick play with a wide receiver going to throw the ball, and I believe it was Jack Beebe was already kind of on him, trailing him, right behind him, and so he was a second guy there, and he just took the chance to jump in and make that pick, and it couldn't have been more timely yet again. Um, Super opportunistic moment. That was a momentum turner. There's like 9 minutes or so, 9 minutes and 41 seconds left in the fourth quarter. We're already down 3. They're driving. They're on the opposite side of the 50. They're on our side of the 50. So you're starting to get a little worried there. And then, boom, JoJo steps up and makes a play. Huge play. And it was really the start of the defense saying, no, you're not going to get this on us. We're going to keep giving our offense opportunities because really that might have been the deepest they got on us for a while because our defense was so stingy in the fourth quarter. Just really won us that game.
Yeah, again, it was more of a slugfest than I think a lot of us thought. I thought we kind of thought there would be points flying here and there, and credit to both
Mm-hmm.
defenses. They kind of
Hmm.
locked it down up there. So Willie, what'd you see from the defense? I know it's probably no fun as an offensive player to play in a game like this, but yeah, from the defensive side of things, what'd you notice? What'd you see? What'd you like from Ball State?
Yeah, I thought our defense played really gritty. They were stingy on the back end as the game went along. I give credit to Kent State's offense because they made plays throughout the game, especially explosive plays down the field. Um, But again, like this defense is starting to turn into a bend but don't break, because they bent a few times, but they never broke. Like I never felt throughout the game that the defense broke. You know what I'm saying? Even when they were moving down the field, like just getting like, opportunistic plays and just, their playmakers making plays. But I never thought our defense was just giving up enough to where in the end of the game they wouldn't have another chance to win it. And I think there was multiple drives we can point to where the defense stood tall. I mean, they went for it on five, went for it on fourth down 5 times. You know what I'm saying? And they only got it once. So Kent State had the ball a lot this game. And our offense couldn't get going. We went 3 and out once or twice, and that puts the defense in a tough position. Especially like I think when the game flipped, there was a big punt return. The defense just stopped them. I think they missed the field goal. They went for it on fourth down again. They got stopped. Our offense went out there for 3 plays, punted, and then they got the explosive punt return and went right back down to like the 10-yard line, and that's when they scored. So it's like those moments in the game. It's like, man, like it's you got to give them some grace, right? Because they were just on the bench, like they just went down the field and stopped these guys on the bench, and now 5 minutes later they're back out there, in a goal line situation. So I thought those were tough moments for our defense, but when they had to make the stops towards the end of the game, they did that. They gave the offense a short field, which in our case, offensively, we needed that. We
Hmm.
we were praying for that, because we just didn't see it all game. We haven't seen it, so it's like, you know, if they had punted right there, I think we're talking different today. You know what I'm saying? And it'll be more talk about the offense and what they're lacking. But the defense stood tall. They made great plays in the secondary. JoJo Lewis got another one. You know what I'm saying? Tag that onto the stat sheet. And I know Coach U doesn't like stats. Stats are for losers. But for us guys that look at stats and it motivates us to keep going and get better and stack another one, like, you know, kudos to that dude, man. And especially Boris too. Like how many more, Colin? Is it 2? Is it 3? Like he's right there to break this
Hmm.
record. I'm so happy for this kid. I really hope he does it in 2 versus having to go till 4. You know what I mean? 2.
He's 2 away, 2 away.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
at
one.
11. I think the record is 13.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. See, he's right there, dog. So defense, proud of him, man. Don't stand on this game too long because you got Eastern Michigan coming up. But they got a long break again, so they'll have time to rest, prepare, and hopefully they can do this again. And I think holding a team to 13 points, that's a pretty good day for the defense
Hmm.
overall, right?
For sure.
Definitely. You spoke on it a little bit, but Voris, I was seeing him all over the field. So before the first half, end of the first half, I think it was the last play of the first half, Voris got that sack. But throughout the game, he was pressuring the quarterback. He was
Hmm.
in the backfield. He was getting QB hits.
Yeah.
Um, the guy was just getting it off slightly before he would get there. But I love to see that because I think next week he breaks the record. I think
Mm.
next week he breaks the record. So that was great to see. I just wanted to give that a shout out, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, and I had one more thing on the defense, and then we can kind of move on to somewhat of a hot topic I've seen on social media the last couple of days with the special teams. But one more defensive note here. This team, in a lot of ways, I think I said it last week, is very Jekyll and Hyde in certain situations. You might see something really good next week and something really bad the week after that. Well, we saw a really bad run defense overall against Northern Illinois. They racked it up on us big time. They held Kent State to under 100 rushing yards this weekend, or on Wednesday night. So going from like 350 rushing yards the week before to holding someone under 100, I'll take that every week. And I think that's where you see that 13 points thing. You're not letting them run all over the field on you.
Right.
So I will take that every week. So again, if anyone's listening out there and you want to join the conversation, tell us what you thought about the game. Tell us if you're sad that Colin is not unfortunately going to be going on his date with the blow up doll now. Let us know what you think about all that. Put it in the chat, in the comments, wherever you're watching, and we'll read it all at the end of the show. So, okay, so there was some pretty good and some pretty bad and some pretty questionable throughout the game with special teams. Willie, I'll start with you, and then Colin, I'll go to you because I know you're a big time special teams guy. So Willie, I'll start with you. What'd you kind of take away overall? There was some good, there was some bad from the special teams overall units on Wednesday night.
Yeah, it was just up and down. It wasn't consistent like it's been the last couple of weeks. But I think with DC Pippen's first, start being on a nationally televised game, that's probably as bad as it's going to get. So I think, I'm gonna show this kid some grace because at the end of the day, he made 1 out of 3. That it could be worse, but it has to continue to get better. And I think he'll look at this as, opportunity he can grow from and, be better next week if he gets those opportunities again. Credit Adam Saul again for punting. Had a great game, 6 punts for almost 200 yards, and we haven't got any kick returns last game, so we can't really say what that would have looked like. But the punt at the end of the game when they gave up that, I think it was like 25, it was more than 25 yards on the punt return that put them back in field position. We got to be better there. We got to be more consistent in punt coverage. I mean, credit to their returner. He is probably one of the most explosive returners in college football, to his credit. So other than that, I just thought the kicking game definitely can be better. Um, and for most of this team, right, this is a very up and down team. And I think with Coach U's first year there, we can expect that, just the up and down consistencies. But I think this is something like the kicking game can definitely get better. And I expect them to get better next week because this is a good group overall. I think the kick return game. I would have loved to see T.J. Horton get another opportunity because I think he's an explosive returner. Um, but overall, okay day at the office, but it definitely needs to get better, especially with the longer kicks. Like those got to be money in the bag, man. Because you got to think. I'm looking at the score. We could have had 23 points versus our 17, right?
Mhm.
So it puts us in a better position to win the game. And as he gets more experience, hopefully he'll get better.
Yeah, Colin, I know you're going to touch on that as well, but before you get to the field goal kicking or even Adam Saw, I wanted you to touch on, and I know you put it on Twitter, and some people were responding to you about the great tackle that was made on, I believe it was that punt return that kind of saved the game. I want you to start there because that's something that you picked up pretty quickly. Kind of start there and work your way back through the rest of the special teams.
Might have been the play of the day that no one's going to talk about. After the touchdown to Cam Anthony, Darius Clark took off like a rocket, kind of through the middle, I think. Then he tries to bounce
Mhm.
it outside. There might have been like one guy there that could have made the tackle after Jalen Jones, but it was really Jalen Jones or Darius is going to like the 50 at least, or
Right.
somewhere around there. And he made that tackle to really hold them down, I don't know, like near the 30-yard line. Got just enough, tripped him up just enough, but it was a massive play on special teams that if you just go and look at, the highlights, it's not going to be there. But it really was a highlight play. One of the best tackles of the night that we had to get. And also another tackle of the night on the very first drive, Ashton Whitner flies down,
Mm.
hits this guy on like a pass and stops him 4th and 1. I think they actually punted on
Mhm.
that first drive. So I wanted to give that a shout out too. But the kicking game, John, this has been a huge thing for us. I want to give DC Pippen a little credit to some extent, John, you and I were on the tailgating fields, and that wind, we knew
Yep.
immediately when we stepped by the stadium, we're like, oh man, the wind is a factor tonight. That wind was blowing around so much so you couldn't even set up a tent. Okay, so the wind
Mm-hmm.
was going crazy. But as a kicker, you still got to hit the kicks, right? But I want to also say, like, 50 yards is not a given. A 50-yard kick at Ball State is quite impressive. He made the 25-yarder. That's the season long on the year. We haven't hit a 25-yarder kick so far this year. And we went for it twice for a 50-yarder. Like we said, the wind was a factor. Um, as I'm sitting in the front row looking at these kicks, I'm cheering for the kicks. I'm thinking he's making these kicks.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like they're far off here. I still like left the game. Now look, if we lose, this is this is a different story. We lose by 3 and we miss 2 kicks. I'm sick to my stomach. But when you win the game, it's just like how I said, Coach U, he called a patient game. I felt like the game was, when it had to be, it was gutsy and aggressive, but for the most part, it was patient, probably showing them what they want to show them until we go the other way. It's the same way with the kicking game. Like, I'm more forgiving when you get the dub.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if we're not going to be able to hit the 50-yard kicks, Coach U has to stop calling for us to hit those kicks. And
Mm-hmm.
credit to him on that 4th and 2 call that he got the touchdown. I was in my head, I'm like, all right, we need to kick it. We need to kick it to tie it up because this is closer than a 50. I believe in DC Pippen.
Mm-hmm.
And he dialed that up. So maybe he was already thinking, like, okay, I can't trust the kicking game. Like, I got to go and win this. So a mixed bag because, like Willie said in earlier weeks, DC's already been nailing them through the end zone on kickoffs. So I like DC Pippen as their kicker, and I think leaving the game, I still feel like if it's a 35-yarder, if it's a 40-yarder, he's got that. But if it's maybe more than 45, maybe we don't call for the field goal, especially if it's a windy day like it was that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hit on a bunch of good points there. Coach, you switching it up at the end and going for it instead because I, I don't think you can send the kicking team back out there after they miss 2, with the game on the line and going for it a third time. I don't think you can do that. But yeah, it's just kind of like, again, it's palatable because it didn't cost them the game. They ended up winning, regardless of that. But like, it's got to be one or the other. It's like if we can't make these long kicks, regardless of the situation, like we got to stop doing it because we're giving these guys short fields. Our offense needs all the points we can get at all times. So we're putting extra strain on the defense, kicking 50-yarders if we're going to miss them. So, and it's not even just this game. I think we're like 4 for 9 for the year on field goals right now. We don't kick a ton to begin with, but they're just not going through when we do. So something's got to be fixed there, whether it is we kick even less than we do now, or we just got to figure out a way to get them through the uprights. So, but again, like you said, in the end, Ball State pulls out the win. Not the biggest deal in the world, but yeah, something's got to be fixed there. Because we're going to get into, after this Eastern Michigan game, we're going to have 2 pretty tough opponents that we're really going to have to get every single point we can. And we got to make sure that we're capitalizing on every chance we can again, because this offense can get really sluggish and really get down the mud. So if we get into opportunity where we can get some points, we got to get them. We got to figure out a way to get them so that we're not sitting back at the end of the year saying, dang, if we just got 3 more points in this game or 3 more points in that game, this could have been a whole different year. So, yeah, I think that's fair by everybody there. Okay.
John,
Yeah, go ahead.
And Willie, we have not won back-to-back games yet so far this year. It's just loss, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. So now we got to stack them because something's going on when we win. Like maybe the focus is off a little bit. I can't say I'm not in the building, but
Well,
we just have to
that's why I made
stack them
that
now.
point earlier. I made that point earlier. It's like, it's cool to think about this game, but it's like we didn't do enough to even like linger on it. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have the best performance that night. Like we got out, we made enough plays in the end to win the game, right? So it's like it should be easy for them to get off this game and focus on Eastern Michigan to get 2 games in a row for the first time this year, and then go into these last 2 games, with some momentum, and try to feed off of that and get this, potential bowl, for us to get for Christmas. So that would be awesome. So, that's a great point, Colin. It's like we haven't done it yet. This is a great opportunity. They got the extra days to kind of heal up and prepare more. So they should use that and benefit if they're not lingering on this win too much, and learning from those past mistakes because it's like they could have beat NIU easy. Like this could have been easily been a 3 game stretch. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? But it's like whether it's the road game or them, dwelling on the win too long, it's like something has to be different this week. And with the extra couple days, I think it will work in our favor for us to get that dub next weekend.
Yeah, and you guys both made good points there. For Ball State to get this season where they want to be, whether again they're still technically alive for the MAC championship. I think we'd all agree that's probably a bit of a tall task here to do, but they are still alive for that, and they're alive for a bowl game. So they're going to have to do two things that they haven't done this year to do that. No matter what
Hmm.
happens, they're going to have to win 2 games in a row, whether it be this one or the last two, and they
Yeah,
have to win on the road 1 game. So
yeah.
to get to a bowl game, they're going to have to do one of two things. So they're going to have to really dig down deep here and figure out to do something that they haven't done in, what is it, 9 weeks now, 10 weeks now. They haven't been able to do yet. So
And the
we,
last game means something, John.
mm-hmm,
That game with Miami of Ohio. There's bragging rights on that game. So it's like
mm-hmm,
that's not a that's like just like NIU to us. It's
yep,
like we got to show up to that game, right? And if we get some momentum, if we're able to, sneak by Toledo because we can't overlook them. They got playmakers, but I think I'll take our defense against Toledo. Because I think we've been doing enough these past couple weeks to show like we're gritty. If the offense is helping them out that day, you never know.
mm-hmm, yeah. So like Willie's talking about with Miami. I mean, I think all Ball State fans would agree that historically, especially the last 10, 12 years, Northern Illinois has been the number one rival that we have. But
Mhm.
Miami is a rival as well.
Yeah,
And with Northern Illinois leaving the conference now, they kind of may bump. This is kind of like their first game, really, as our, in the fan base's eyes, really their true new number one rivals. So there'll be
right.
a little extra juice out there. At least there should be for everyone involved. So, Willie, I had one more question for you before Colin and I kind of dive into our day there. So we've kind of alluded to this a few times. Like Ball State, this is not their best game they've played at all this year, and really Kent State really gave them all these opportunities. And again, they were able to capitalize or do all this and that. You're saying how you don't want to dwell on this game too much, obviously, probably in a positive light, being like puffing their chest out, feeling good. In a game like this, that you pull out a close one and the other team really kind of helps you out. Are you almost mad as a player, like, dang, I know we didn't play well, or are you happy you got the win? How do you guys move on? Because it's kind of a unique game. Like, obviously, we're happy that we won, but we know we
Right.
didn't really play that great.
Yeah, it's like, you look at the tape, you watch the tape and you see where you can be better, right? And, it's easier to take that type of coaching with a win versus a loss, right?
Hmm.
But so I think, if they take the coaching the hard way, like if they did lose the game, it'll be easy for them to move on, because it's like I think every week is a new week. We got to go 1-0 each week. So, I think it'll be easy for them to move on from it because it's not like we put up 45 points. We didn't put up a lot of plays here and there offensively. So it's like, there's not much that we can look at and be, very happy about. We're going to talk about that fourth down play the whole time
Hmm.
because that was the highlight of the game, right? So, you know, if they got their mind right, they'll be able to move on and they'll be able to look forward to the next opportunity because it's like this is the last home game. It's like I'm trying to go crazy my last home game, right? For those seniors, I'm trying to make a statement at Ball State, the last time playing this shoe, right? So it's just the excitement to look forward and be like, all right, I know I can be better. I'm looking at the tape. I got to fix this stuff, and I got 10 days to do it. So I should feel pretty confident knowing that when I go into this last home game, I'm gonna put my best performance out there, and hopefully hang up at least 30 on these cats because that's what we do on Eastern Michigan. We hang up points on them, and we don't feel sorry for it, especially at the crib, man. We gotta continue to protect the nest, and I know they take pride in that. So I know they'll make sure that they make those corrections, and hopefully they'll have a better performance offensively. Because I think if this offense is clicking, John and Colin, you guys could probably agree with this. Our defense will be looking pretty good, even
Hmm.
better, because they've just been put in tough positions and they've stood tall. But I want us to play with the lead, a 14-point lead, and see how our defense looks, right? Like
Hmm.
that's what I've yet to see this year is us to be leading in that capacity and then watch our defense fly around just free. Because at that point, it's like you're protecting something. Yes, you're protecting the end zone, but at the same time, it's like we're up 2 touchdowns, right? Like Now they're going to throw the ball. Now the DB should be licking their chops, or Nate Vorez should be licking his chops, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I know they're about to pass because they're trying to catch up in this game, and then you see a completely different defense, right? So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I hope that they have that mindset to just be able to move off this game pretty quick. Looking forward to the next opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Colin, you had something else?
What's giving me hope right now for Eastern Michigan is the Ohio game. I don't know if you guys remember, but we had that week that we could just watch Ohio the week before, and Eastern Michigan has to play tomorrow, and we don't. So we get to rest, watch Eastern Michigan,
Yep.
study, how the quarterback plays. If you're on the D line, study how the defense and the secondary is moving. So I
Right.
like that for our chances. So I'm hoping we get this back-to-back win. That's my number one thing. We have extra time on them, extra rest, a mini bye. Let's make the best use of it, and we have made the best use of it in the
Mm-hmm.
past this season. So I expect them to do the same. It's the seniors' last game at the shoe, so I expect to see Keon make a play. Kyle will be on his game. Uh, Keon actually, like, he didn't. I don't think he had a catch this week, but on the last drive we scored on, they didn't target him on that. But the drive right before that, the defense gave it to us on their side of the field, just like they did, the drive after. And we targeted Keon on third down, and they didn't call a pass interference. That was clearly a pass interference. And then when I went back and watched the game on tape, the announcers are like, "Wow, I'm surprised that wasn't a pass interference." But sometimes, and Willie, this is a question for you: if you're getting all the calls in the day, like we got 10, they called 10 penalties on Kent State, and 4 penalties gave us a first down.
Right.
So sometimes do you think the refs get tired of calling penalties on the other team, and like that penalty right there on Keon, or not on Keon, but like on the defender that was on Keon,
Yeah.
that would have sealed the deal for us, I
Right.
think, or made it at least like, close to sealing the deal for us. Do you think sometimes the refs are like, all right, I don't want to make that call because that's the hand on the lever, on the weight too much, on the scale too much? What do you think, Willie?
I mean, I thought that play was pretty bad. It was a toss up. Um, I don't think the refs think that necessarily. Like we've been making too many calls against this team. But I definitely thought that was a PI. I'm with you. Like I thought he was there early. He hit him in the back. Like, that was just like he didn't even have a chance to catch the ball. So it's like one of those plays. It's like where it's clearly a pass interference. It's like, make the right call in that moment. Because that is a big moment. And it went in their direction and went in their favor. But like those are those ones you can't control, right? Like sometimes they see it, sometimes they don't. They're human. They're not always going to get the right call. But to Ball State's credit, like 4 penalties for the game, and to Kent State's 10, like that's pretty good. So Ball State's playing a clean game for the most part. But like those type of plays, it's like you want the call because it's right there in front of you. It's like how bad does it have to get for you to make the call? You know what I'm saying?
And
Like
that's our
it was
number one wide receiver. That's
Mm-hmm.
our number one wide
exactly.
receiver. Give us the
Yeah.
call. Like, dang.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always weird. Like Colin was kind of saying, somewhat like, not even necessarily are they worried about calling too many penalties. I think it's more they're worried about calling a penalty in a big spot sometimes. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, oh, do we want this game really to end off this? Now, I agree that I thought it was pass interference as well. But again, just like the kicking game we talked about, thankfully, it didn't ultimately cost Ball State in the end. So, all right, last chance for everyone out there. Again, if you're watching the stream right now, give the stream a like, put a comment wherever you're watching it, and we'll read all the comments at the end of the show. So, actually, one more point here. I want to go that Colin made that I thought was a good point. He's talking about the extra rest that we have, and just off the top of my head, if you exclude the Purdue game, because obviously Purdue has extra rest as well as the first game of the season, you're feeling stuff out. But extra rest throughout the season, I believe the two instances were Ohio and this game, the Kent State game. They won both these games, so both at home. You got another one, same scenario at home, extra rest. I think that was a good point for Colin to bring up that, those scenarios have done well for us this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen Willie Snead at games this year. We've seen Colin at home games this year. I made my debut at Schumann Stadium this year. It was awesome. I had a great time. We got a chance to see a bunch of the fans of the show, a bunch of the players' parents. We tailgated with them. We had fun in the stands. Had some good food, saw a Ball State win, got to check out Schumann Stadium. I loved it. Colin, how was your experience hanging with the singer of the song at the beginning of this show.
It was a good day. John spoiled me. I can't lie. He bought lunch, bought my ticket to the game. I bought him a beer in the game, but it was a great day. Tailgating was amazing. The parents that we spoke with were super friendly. We stopped by the Simborski tailgating lot and hung out there, and they were super generous. Gave us a bunch of those good boy drinks. Willie
Oh
like
yeah,
you
it's
said,
true, Willie.
They were pretty good,
they
right?
were they were
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah.
So
So it was a
yeah,
great day
yeah.
in general, especially after the win. I mean, there's no better feeling than like yelling on the way out, chirping on the way out, making a video, letting the people know, never in doubt. I was, 100% locked in. Shout out to Mark Carney, my favorite game he's coached this year. So yeah, I just amazing day because we got the dub, like 10 out of 10.
And two other things I want to mention, then we'll get on to the last couple things of the show. But number one, we're talking about going to the Simborski tailgate. My guy Donald Simborski, this is Lucas's grandfather, I believe. He made some chili,
Legend.
and I think he made some pico as well that Colin was eating.
Mm.
Oh, fire.
Good stuff there. So that was good. Shout out to them. And then also right next to their tailgate, and I got this guy's information. I don't have it off the top of my head. It's in this office somewhere, but there's a guy whose tailgate is right next to him, who I believe, Colin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, has been to every single Ball State home game since the 70s. Was that
Mm.
correct?
Yep.
And he goes and
Yeah.
tailgates every game. So I got his information. We're going to have him on the show here soon, and have him kind of come on and talk, because you're thinking, let's say it's, that's what, 50 years potentially at this point. He hasn't missed a home game in 50 years. That's crazy.
Wow.
So I have his information. He's going to come on at some point, and we're going to talk to him about his story, because it's a great one. So look forward to that down the road. So, boys,
Okay.
before we jump into the listener questions, I want to get one takeaway from this game. It could be from this game. It could be where the season's headed. And it could be anything. Willie, I'll start with you. What's your one takeaway from this game, or a thought you have going forward?
Yeah, I think this game was a confidence booster. I think they had a bad taste in their mouth from NIU, a game they could have won, they should have won, and they were able to redeem themselves this past Wednesday. And going into this last home game, I feel like they can really build some momentum going into these last two games of the year. Not looking too far ahead, but this team continues to show me that they're resilient, they're gritty. It's not pretty by any means, but it's tough nosed football. Those guys take pride in playing at home and protecting the nest. So that's kind of like one of the takeaways that I got from this week. And then going forward, like I think this team is in perfect position to do whatever they want. They've won enough games to be able to say, if we want to go win a MAC championship, we're in position to do it. If we want to go to a bowl game this year, and finish out Coach U first year the right way, like they're in position to do it. They got everything in front of them. They just got to continue to win games. They got to figure out how to win games on the road, especially after this home game. And I think if they do that, if they take pride in that, like we could see a different Ball State these next couple of weeks, because everything's a lot better when you win, right? We're talking about the team in a great way. What we're looking forward to, but this could have easily went the other way. And they have to be able to fix that. They got to be able to separate themselves. When they have that moment in the game where they can pull away, whether that's making two field goals or capitalizing on a couple more drives on offense where they're putting their defense in a way better position. All those things that they need to continue to figure out and gel together the right way. They have everything in front of them, guys. Like that's what I got looking forward, is that they have everything in front of them. They can do whatever they want, but they got to be able to win these games, these last couple of games, and show the fans that they want to. They want to do something different, right? That hasn't been done here in a long time. And you know, I can't. I think we protected the nest of 2013. If they go 5-0 at home, that's something that they can hang their hat on. At least if the season goes sideways once they leave the nest, I think that's something they could really hang their hat on, is going 5-0 at home. That's no. I don't think anybody in the MAC has did that. I could be wrong, but that's a pretty good stat. Uh, Even though Coach U doesn't like stats, when you look back at the season, you're gonna look at that stat and be like, you're gonna smile a little bit bigger, because that's a cool stat to have, just being 5-0 at home, and then you carry that into next year, right? That's something that you can continue to build off of.
Yeah, one thing I want to touch on before I kick it over to Colin is the this fifth home game coming up being the last home game of the year. We got to figure a way to balance the schedule out a little bit more, so we're not playing 7 games on the road every year. Because obviously, you know, whether you're Willie Snead's teams in 2013 or you're the teams now, going on these roads, these big power teams is a tough, tall task. And
Hmm.
giving them 2 every year now, again, I understand the financial side of it where you got to get the money, but like in terms of team success, it really puts you in almost a 2-0 hole kind of to start the season. So, getting that extra home game, I don't know how you do it, but
Or even if
it
you
would be
like,
nice.
even if you do play those Power Four schools, it's like play the bottom tier of the Power Four,
Hmm.
right?
We
Like,
did.
when
Yeah,
we
kind of.
play, I mean, I don't. I mean, okay,
Purdue?
Purdue is okay. I guess you could say Purdue's at the lower part of the totem pole, but like they always start high, right, in the beginning, but they always fall off. But even
Mhm.
Auburn's tough, man. Like
Hmm.
Auburn is,
Yeah, true.
they got history. So if like we play Virginia, we play Clemson, right? Like Clemson's top tier. Virginia now they're top tier, but like before they were like bottom half of the ACC. So I think like picking and choosing, right? I think that makes a difference, John. Like you're saying, is like don't put ourselves, give us a chance, right? If we're gonna play a power four, let's pick a team that we might have a chance against instead of just playing the number one team in the nation and collecting a check and just get an ass whooping while we're doing it, right? Like,
Yeah,
like that's not cool.
and I get it to an extent. Again, obviously, I'm not naive to how this all works. Obviously, Ball State needs the money, and this is how they get their money is through those games. But it's like, dang, like, could we get? Is there a way we can get that second non-conference game, like that UConn game or Liberty next year, or Western Kentucky? Like, can we get that game at home more often? It seems like those are always on the road now, and it just really kind of puts us in a little bit of a hole from the beginning because.
I think teams are scared to come to the nest, honestly. Like when South Florida came up to the nest, they were in uncharted waters. They didn't know what was going on out there in the cornfields, bruh. Like you brought some beach kids that are playing in the sand all their life, and you bring them up to the cornfields, like uncharted waters, dog. And I don't think they want to play in the nest, man. Like they scared to come to the shoe. That's
There
probably
we
what it
go.
is, dude.
Hey, 4-0 in the shoe this year, so there might be
4-0,
something to
baby.
that. All
Hmm.
right, Colin, I'll ask you the same question. Obviously, this was a big game for you personally. What's your main takeaway from it? And just, I'm interested to hear what you got to say.
My main takeaway from this game, I'd say, is the team is on the path to a successful season. A season to remember. If you get 6 wins, that's the special thing about Ball State. You can overachieve and have incredible years like the man above me here, Willie Snead, but all you need for us to tell you you had an incredible season is 6-6. They're on the path there. I told Coach Yurimovich this when we interviewed him, like, does it feel a little bit better knowing you can go 6-6 and the fans be like very pleased with that? And he said he doesn't think about it, and he says stats or whatever, but it's true. They're on the way. If we make it to a bowl game this year, guys, this will be a season we haven't had 10 times
Mhm.
before, So it's just if we make that, this will be a team I'll remember forever. And they have to do that to get that taste of NIU out of our mouth. I think the 5-0 at the shoe will wash that out a little bit. But if you make a bowl game, bronze stock who? Like I don't even I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not even remember, I got amnesia to that.
Mhm.
So they're on the way to making this a successful season. And my other takeaway, John, and I've said this a couple times, the MAC hierarchy stays in place. There's
There you go.
teams that belong below us in the MAC. And I'm just keeping it real. Like, I kind of feel like the Auburn of the SEC. Like, yeah, Toledo's up there, Miami's up there, whatnot, but we're above Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna be above that Kent State, that UMass, that Akron, that Eastern Michigan. So we got to maintain that hierarchy and solidify that. Hey, we're a top 7 team in the MAC year to year, and so I just
Hmm.
want to see that continue.
Yeah, because you're going into the last 3 weeks of the season, they're still alive in MAC contention, which is something that they've not been able to say those last couple of years. Yeah, my takeaway from this is fairly similar to your guys's. I don't think you look at this roster or watch these games, and I don't think anyone out there is saying this is the most talented Ball State team of all time. I think everyone would agree that that's probably not the case. But with that said, they're a very resilient group, and they're finding ways to fight back. They have a tough non-conference schedule, and they come out and they find a way to win against New Hampshire. They play it close against Kentucky. They're sitting there at 1-3, and they could really throw in the towel right now if they want to. They come and get a big upset win. So, well, again, I don't think they're going to wow you a lot of ways on the stat sheet or even watching the games, maybe like this last weekend. But they're resilient and they're finding ways to win. And they're going to be late here in November now with a chance to go 6-6, which is not something that happens at Ball State all the time. So I'll give them a major takeaway on that is that this is a resilient group and they're going to keep fighting. And now sometimes their best punch isn't going to be very good, but they're not going to give up and they're going to come back the next week and try and land something else. So I'll give them their credit that they're a resilient group and their resiliency has found them in this spot where they can really make some noise. And like Colin said, be remembered for really good things, because it seemed like for a while they might not be remembered for very good things. So I like that about them. And, we'll see how these last 3 games play out. So let's jump into these listener questions and we'll get everyone out of here. Again, we appreciate you guys joining us today. I know it's a little bit different time than normal, but once some action starts, things can get a little strange. So we'll let our schedule get a little strange as well. So we'll start over on YouTube with our boy Sidelines Rob over on YouTube. He says he likes the time today. So there we go. For the unks with kids, he likes the time.
True.
So we'll take that.
Kids are getting home right now.
That's right. Colin, your guy, Drew, he reposted the stream on Twitter. So, Drew, thank you so much for doing that for us. Someone in here who threw a couple things out here today, someone on YouTube named Bluish Banter. He said a win versus Eastern next week will be critical for bowl implications. They're 4-0 at home, but also haven't won back-to-back games all season. Colin, I know you mentioned that as well. So other people are picking up on these things. And I guess we can get a very early, 10-day out or what is it, 8 days out now. What are we guys thinking for this Eastern Michigan game? Do we have any doubts? Are we feeling good about it? Willie, I'll start with you. 8 days out. If this game was tomorrow, how do you think it would play?
I feel good about it because I think our guys will be really motivated. They have a lot to be motivated towards. Like I said before, they have everything in front of them. It's the last home game, especially for those seniors. It gives them a chance to go 5-0 at the shoe, and to go to stack 2 wins in a row is something to, be proud of. So I think there's a lot to be motivated towards, and I think Eastern Michigan is struggling. They've struggled all year, and I think if they came on the road to a hostile, nest, coming into the nest in a hostile territory with our guys feeling good after 10 days. I like us, so I'm not feeling too bad about this matchup. I definitely think we pull out the win if we come out there and execute and play bend but don't break on defense.
Colin, will there be a Eastern Michigan bet for next week?
No, I don't think so. My heart's taken
more.
enough. But in terms of record wise, this is probably the second worst team in the MAC. I think they might. UMass doesn't have any wins. NIU either has 2 or 3, and Eastern Michigan has 2. Now they do play on Saturday, so I'll be watching that and I'll have more feedback for you on a question like this next week. But currently, as I see it, I think this is a pretty mediocre to lower tier MAC team. Noah Kim, their quarterback, he's actually kind of a dog, but for the most part, this team is not great. So I don't really know how I see the game going. I don't know if they're like more of a defensive team. I don't know if they're more of a gunslinger team and they're giving up all these points or whatnot, because I haven't really been following them close enough to make an educated comment. But record tells me we should beat these guys. But the record told me that same thing against NIU, and they dog walked us. So
True.
we got to make sure we come to play. We can't underestimate anybody. Even if I'm talking crazy about Kent State, we shouldn't underestimate anybody, Eastern Michigan included. We need to make sure we come to play. And I think we will. It's the last home game at the shoe. We're already 4-0. Juices should be flowing. Prop bet Keon Magwood for a touchdown, perhaps. I kind of like that. But, yeah, I think we get the dub, John. I'm going to say it.
And we'll revisit this, obviously, on the Eastern Michigan preview show, but I was just curious, what you guys' thoughts were. I feel pretty similar to both of you. I don't know enough about Eastern Michigan at this exact moment, but I would like to think that Ball State's able to pull this off and get a win there. So, Rob, again, We always have a little bit of a magic against Toledo, but obviously we got to get through Eastern Michigan first. Willie, there's no one here who knows about that better than you do. You know, we don't want to look ahead of Eastern Michigan, obviously, because that's a game on the schedule still. But when Ball State and Toledo get together, some weird things happen. It seems like
Sure.
so. Um, yeah, we'll see how that one goes. It's obviously always a tough place to play up in the Glass Bowl,
Mhm.
but I know you guys got a big win. You and Travis Freeman were talking about that on the show last week.
Yeah, that's a great environment to play in. There'll be a lot going for that game, right? If we beat this Eastern Michigan team, if we handle our business, it's gonna be a lot on the line. And I think any Ball State team that's motivated going into the Glass Bowl,
Hmm.
you can do some tricky things in there. So we like Rob said, like we've had some magic in the past, so there's no reason why we can't bring some of that magic back.
True. Uh,
Toledo
yeah, go ahead.
Toledo generally is prone to a head scratching loss from
Hmm.
time to time. So as long as we don't find them on a downturn, like I know Willie actually changed my thoughts on this because I asked him, I'm like, if my team plays a team, so for instance, Eastern Michigan game is Saturday. I asked Willie, I'm like, should I be rooting for Eastern Michigan to lose going into the game so they're kind of like on the down? Or should I be rooting for like Eastern Michigan for a team my team plays to win the week before? And Willie was like, oh no, you want the team you play to lose the week before you go into the game. And so that's kind of changed my thinking of that in general. But on Toledo, they're such a weird team that like if you find them doing well, they might be prone to just taking their foot off the gas and we catch them
Hmm.
slipping. So we'll
Hmm.
see, but who knows there? That's a
Yeah.
tough one.
So our friend over at Bluish Banter again on YouTube, he's watching from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So shout out. It's our first known documented Wisconsin watcher. So shout out there. Keep up the great work, fellas. Coverage for the year has been great, along with your guests, and adding Willie is a great touch. So there we go. We appreciate you watching. We see you in there, and go Cardinals. Rob, one more time. Toledo's also undefeated at home. So there we go.
There you
Toledo
go.
is also undefeated at home. Uh, Bill Stimler over on YouTube. You guys know they play Ohio State next year. Yes, we start off the year at Ohio State, and thankfully the season got a little bit easier because not only were we playing at Ohio State next year, we were originally supposed to play at Indiana as
Oh,
well, who at the
Mm.
time maybe was not as big of a deal. Obviously, they've turned into a pretty formidable team this next couple
Yes,
years.
they
So, yeah,
have.
we're at Ohio State. We are at Northwestern, and I believe we're at Liberty as well. So those are all
Mm.
three quality teams. So that kind of goes into our point again, as always earlier. It's like we're going to have these really hard non-conference schedules, and we're going to have 3 of the 4 games on the road. So I don't
Could you
love
see
that.
Ohio?
hopefully
Could you see Ohio State playing at the shoe? Could you
That'd
see
be
it?
awesome. I said
That'd
it
be
should
so
be
cool.
it should be the battle for the shoe. Whoever wins gets the name.
That'd be dope, bro.
So, all right, and our last comment here, I specifically saved this one for last. And Colin, this is for you. This is for Mr. Voris. No more double IPAs for Colin. Mr. Voris was at the tailgate. He busted out the double IPAs. I told him no. I said, I can't do it. I can't do that. And Colin, being the trooper that he is, said, I'll take one. And I don't think it went well for you. Colin, I don't think it went down smooth. Do you have any retort to Mr. Voris here?
respect to Mr. Voris because those beers are serious. It was like 9 point something percent, but it reminded me of a Two Hearted, but maybe a little better. Maybe a little better. That was on me though because we came in, we had a drink at Puertas already. Then we're sitting at John's truck tailgating at 3 p.m. I'm down in red, white, and blue Smirnoffs while John's nursing the same Miller Lite. Then we finally get to the tailgate. I'm down in the good boys, and then Mr. Voris is like, all right, you want to try this IPA? Like, how am I gonna say no to a goat? You know what I mean? So of course I tried it but couldn't finish it. Thought I could just sneak away like with it half finished. Nope. They realized it. They realized it. But credit
Mm.
to him and those beers are something serious, but shout out to Mr. Boris.
Yep, he was an animal. So yeah, it was great seeing him. It was great seeing the Simborskis, the Pippins, everybody. It was good to talk to people and just talk ball and hang out. I could feel the love from the Ball State family, not even just for the show, but just as fellow alumni and fellow fans of the
Mhm.
team. So I love that. It was awesome. So all right, we'll let the fans out there know. I'm not sure what the schedule looks like for the rest of the weekend. I don't know if we'll do a show on Tuesday or on Sunday night, or if we'll just do one on Wednesday. Me and the guys will talk that out, but we'll let you guys know out there what the plan is, and we'll get up an idea out there for you guys. So whether it's Sunday or Wednesday this week, we'll see you guys then. Again, if you like the show, we appreciate it. We had a decent showing here today, even for the midday on Friday. So we appreciate everyone out there watching with us every week. We really appreciate it. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you haven't already, follow all of us on all your social media platforms and interact with us. Throw some comments out there. Congratulate Colin on not having to do this crazy bet he made. And until the next time, everyone out there in Cardinal land, chirp, chirp, and go Cardinals.